It is September 21st, 2024, and you are listening to Sports Chowder. Today I'm talking the Patriots 1-2 start, the state of the late season Red Sox, and more. My intention was to record a mini episode when I returned home from Boston last week, but my voice actually sounded worse than this because I got a cold. I'm still sort of recovering, but I feel a lot better now, even if I still sound a little bit sick. So that is why there was no episode last week, but I am glad to be back at Sports Chowder. Because it's been 2 weeks, I now have 3 Patriots games to go over, so at least I have a lot of content this week. I want to follow up on what I said on my last episode. My plan was to watch the Patriots-Bengals game on my hotel's rooftop. They have a nice bar area and pool. But as soon as I checked in, I was told that the rooftop closed after Labor Day. That was very disappointing. The weather was really nice. It would have been the perfect environment to watch the game. But whatever. We adapted and we watched the game at the Sam Adams Tap Room. And that was really comfortable, really nice, really big TV. So I enjoyed it. I'm still disappointed that I missed out on a rooftop game experience. But whatever. At least the Patriots won. I was, of course, pleasantly surprised that the Patriots beat the Bengals 16-10. Going into that game, I knew it was possible, but I was not sure if it would actually happen. For Week 1, Brissett and the offense actually looked halfway decent, a lot better than they looked during the preseason, which was really a necessary improvement. My man, running back Ramondre Stevenson, rushed for 120 yards and had 1 touchdown, which I love to see. Our defense held Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow to just 164 yards with no touchdown passes, and our offensive line actually looked all right. Not great, not even that good, but they were adequate for once. Now I will note that Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins was inactive, but it was still an upset road win. It was the ideal way to start the season. Now, Week 2 was our home opener versus Seattle, and that was less ideal. It was a 23-20 overtime loss. Jacoby Brissett went 15 for 27 with 149 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. That passing touchdown was wide receiver Jalen Polk's first receiving touchdown of his career. Brissett's limitations were much more noticeable this week. While we did hang in there until overtime, offensively we could not answer Seattle enough of the game. It was clear, more than ever, that Jacoby Brissett is a placeholder quarterback. He is not the worst possible option at quarterback in the league, but he can only make so much happen passing-wise. Finally, on Thursday night, the Patriots lost in ugly fashion to the Jets. The final score was 24-3. Brissett went 12 of 18 with 98 yards. In total, our offense generated just 139 yards. Our offensive line looked absolutely horrible, and our defense was shredded by Aaron Rodgers, who went 27 for 35 with 281 passing yards and 2 touchdown passes. Our game was also pretty sloppy. There were a lot of flags on us, a lot of penalties we had to deal with. And even the bright spots on our roster turned in poor performances. Ramondre Stevenson finished with just 23 rushing yards, and he fumbled the ball once again. Now that was more forgivable when he was putting points on the board, but he did not do that on Thursday. Cornerback Christian Gonzalez gave up the first touchdown of his career, which was disappointing to see, but it was bound to happen. And now, the only thing that really saved this game from being a complete failure was the fact that with 4 minutes and 24 seconds left on the clock, Drake May checked in at quarterback. Now, Drake's first pass was nearly intercepted, but after that, things looked all right. He actually gained 4 first downs in those 4 minutes, 24 seconds. While the Jets' defense did not let up, we made it to the red zone with 13 seconds to play. Now, had the Patriots called a timeout to stop the clock, May would have certainly scored his first passing touchdown. Why we did not call a timeout, I will never know. We had 3 timeouts left. We had all of our second half timeouts left. We could have given May, a confidence boost of a play, and we didn't. I don't really get it. In those 4 minutes, 24 seconds, May finished 4 for 8 with 22 passing yards and 12 rushing yards. That is 1/3 of Jacoby's total yards in one drive. Now, he was sacked twice, but he recovered quickly when he was sacked. Overall, this game was a wake-up call. Week 1 was a nice surprise win. It built some confidence that many people did not have in this team. But Week 2 showed some cracks, and then Thursday was a fully exposing loss. This is a team that has a lot of issues. There is no hiding it. That being said, the offense looked a lot better with Drake May in at quarterback. The numbers back it up. His confidence on the field backs that up. I really think it's quite possible Drake May will be the starter Week 5. I would say he would start Week 4, but that game is against the Super Bowl runner-up 49ers in San Francisco. That would be quite the daunting task for Drake May's first start. We may as well play one more game on the road and then have him start Week 5 in Foxborough against the Dolphins. The Dolphins actually look somewhat vulnerable this year. It would be the ideal game to finally start Drake May and get things going a bit better. No matter when Drake May finally starts, the offense and our team as a whole won't magically get better, but we will be in the best possible position to win, given our current lineup. Drake will also gain truly valuable experience starting. He will build chemistry with receivers, learn from his mistakes, and build confidence with his successes. I really hope we start May sooner rather than later. It's an investment in the future. It may not completely pay off this year, but it will move us in the right direction. It will move us into the future. I'll always love Jacoby for his role in the wolf pack of quarterbacks on the 2016 Patriots, but he is not the future of our team. He never was, he never will be. I'm happy to have him as a backup or third-string quarterback, but he is not starting material. We have a quarterback in Drake May who is starting material, and we ought to start him. And now for a Red Sox update. Since my last episode, we have won a series against the White Sox 2-1, won a series against Baltimore 2-1, lost a series to the Yankees 3-1, and lost to the Tampa Bay Rays 2-1. We have a series against the Minnesota Twins in Boston this weekend. The Twins are third in the American League Central Division. As of right now, when I am recording this podcast on a Friday afternoon, there are 9 games left for the Red Sox, and we have a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs. It's disappointing, but at this point, not surprising. I mean, the Red Sox just are not equipped to make a playoff run. They aren't the worst, they aren't the best, they are middle-of-the-road mediocre. And, there were highlights this season I enjoyed. Watching some of the games I watched, I saw some good stuff, but ultimately, this team wasn't going to amount to anything too great. They just brought us from basketball season to football season, and didn't totally fall apart. This team exceeded low expectations. It's not great, it's not worth throwing a party over, but it shows there's potential on this roster. We just have to invest, Invest in some talent in the free agency market and promote our young talent from the minor league system, and we may have a shot at actually doing something special. Now, with so little time left and such a small chance at making the playoffs, I think the Red Sox should call up Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell from the minor leagues. Not only are they the best prospects in the Red Sox system, they are some of the best prospects in baseball, period. They have been absolutely dominant at each level of the minor league system. In my view, there are no downsides to calling these two talents up to the big leagues. The very worst case scenario is they inject some excitement into these last few games of the year, and they get a taste of the Boston Red Sox. They get a taste of what it's like to play for one of the marquee teams of Major League Baseball. That's valuable. And it's low stakes. No one's expecting them to save the season. We're just expecting them to perform and maybe help us get some more wins than we expected in September. Now, the best case scenario is that the Red Sox win every game left, some other things happen, and somehow the Sox make the playoffs. I highly, highly doubt that happens, but hey, that is the absolute best case scenario, and it would be extremely valuable for both Campbell and Anthony to gain any level of playoff experience, even if it's just 2 games in the wild card round. On a lighter note, Netflix announced that their documentary on the 2004 Red Sox is being released on October 23rd. Now, I love the story of the 2004 Red Sox. They reversed the curse of the Bambino and finally won a World Series, Boston's first since 1918. Now, there have been other documentaries made about this topic, of course, because it's so interesting, it's so exciting, it's so special, but I do think commemorating 20 years is really important. You know, you have the benefit of hindsight looking back on this incredible run. I will certainly be watching the day it drops, and I will share my thoughts on this show. I really love sports documentaries, even if it has nothing to do with a team I care about. You know, I even enjoyed Derek Jeter's ESPN miniseries that came out 2 or 3 years ago. I just thought it was really interesting hearing his story from his perspective. So if this documentary is good, I will recommend it especially to non-Red Sox fans as a way to learn about a historic championship. Whether it's great, good, or just alright, I will certainly have fun watching and reliving that championship, you know. I was only 4 years old when it happened, so I just remember my uncle being really excited and him buying t-shirts for my sister Lily and I. So to get a deeper recap with the benefit of hindsight from the players and coaches and fans who experienced it will be really special. And now for the Boston Free Game of the Week, the part of the show where I talk about a game that has nothing to do with the city of Boston. This week I chose another college football game, number 6 Tennessee versus number 15 Oklahoma. The two SEC foes will face off in Norman, Oklahoma at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. The game will air on ESPN. Now, first of all, what makes this game interesting to me is somewhat personal. I live in Tennessee now, and my family has roots in Oklahoma. What makes the game even more interesting is that it is the first matchup for these two as conference opponents, with OU joining the SEC just this year. Now, both teams are 3-0, but Oklahoma struggled a bit. They only won by 4 points to unranked Houston in Week 2. They've really had trouble moving the chains and connecting on third downs. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare against a top opponent like Tennessee. The Tennessee Volunteers right now have the top scoring offense in America. Now again, it's only been a few weeks, so that doesn't mean as much as it'll mean later in the season, but it's still significant. It will also be the first true road game of the season for Tennessee, as they played number 24 North Carolina State at a neutral site. Under head coach Josh Heupel, Tennessee has a record of 6-7 when playing true road games. In those true road games, the Volunteers average 30.9 points offensively and allow an average of 32 points from their opponents. Just for comparison's sake, OU coach Brent Venables is 6-8 on the road, 19-10 overall, so far in his tenure with Oklahoma. As I keep saying, it is still early in the college football season, but a conference win would go a long way for both teams in regards to SEC standings and college football playoff hopes. I hope this will be a close one, and I believe it will be a close one. Now, because of my family, I am inclined to root for Oklahoma, but I hope it's a fun watch regardless. And now a new segment I call Primetime Picks, where I pick who I believe will win each primetime NFL matchup this coming week. Now, I'm not sure I'll be doing this every week during the NFL season, But for this episode specifically, there just was not any Celtics or NBA news I felt inclined to talk about, and I was feeling very matter-of-fact about the Patriots and Red Sox, and I just really needed to spice this episode up a bit. Before I get started, a quick disclosure: I do not gamble on sports. I would lose a lot of money. I simply don't trust myself to do that the right way. So that being said, do not take the following picks as gambling advice. These picks are just based on what I have seen in the NFL season thus far, as well as my gut feeling. First up is Sunday Night Football on NBC. The Chiefs face the Falcons in Atlanta. Now I have to ride with the defending Super Bowl champions here. Even though they struggled last week against the Bengals, a team that the Patriots embarrassed week 1. Yes, I know, I'm petty. I expect Kansas City will only lose 2 or 3 regular season games this season, and I certainly don't expect a loss on Sunday in Atlanta. Monday Night Football is a doubleheader this week. First up at 7:30, I believe Eastern Time on ESPN, is Bills-Jaguars. Now the obvious pick is the Bills. I hate to say it. They are the vastly superior, though deeply evil, team in this matchup. Now, their records show this, in addition to other ample evidence. The Bills are 2-0, and the Jaguars are 0-2. That's a very easy pick. The 8:15 game on ABC is Commanders-Bengals. The Commanders are 1-1, the Bengals are 0-2. My gut says the Bengals will snag their first win this week. They look better against Kansas City, and this game is in Cincinnati. This is their time to finally enter the win column. Finally, to start week 4, Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime will be Giants-Cowboys. Now, as I record this, Dallas is 1-1, and the Giants are 0-2. Now, having not seen week 3, they have a whole game before this matchup. I'm predicting a Cowboys victory. Much like the Bills prediction, I feel no joy in saying that. I would much rather the Giants beat the Cowboys, but I just cannot see that happening. Believe me, I am no fan of the New York Giants. I watched them beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl back in 2012. That being said, I cannot stand the self-proclaimed America's team based in Dallas. They make me like almost any other team in the NFL. Really, the only team I hate more than the Cowboys on a consistent basis is the Buffalo Bills. So yes, next Thursday I will be rooting for the New York Giants. It's a very rare occurrence, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. And now, Assorted Awesome, the part of the show where I talk about something that is 100% awesome with no caveats. This week, a Boston area woman named Dottie Clemens celebrated her 105th birthday. Now, Dottie is a lifelong Bruins fan, witnessing so many ups and downs in her 105 years of life. As a gift for her, Clemens' family arranged with the Bruins Foundation for multiple Boston Bruins legends to give her a FaceTime call. Now, the coolest of all these legends who gave her a call is by far Bobby Orr, considered by many to be one of the greatest defensemen in hockey history. Clemens also received birthday messages from Rick Middleton, Ray Bourque, Patrice Bergeron, and Brad Marchand. I have to say, I love this story. I think it's so cool that she's been a fan for all those years. I think she really earned these FaceTime calls. I sincerely hope Dottie gets to see one more Stanley Cup run this season. That is all I have for this episode of Sports Chowder. You can find me on X at Stebbins Tweets. You can follow the show at sports_chowder. You can follow the show on Instagram at Sports Chowder and like it on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate the support. I will return next week with another serving of Sports Chowder, the show that discusses, celebrates, and/or laments the state of Boston sports.